Man, it's that old thing, perseverance, consistency, hard work. My goal is to put the same work into, my businesses, my family that I put into football, and I've been running with that mantra since I got married back in '97, that if I'm going to have a successful marriage, I got to, the same hard work and same consistency and discipline I had on the football field, I got to put in my marriage and with my kids and with my businesses and all that. So it teaches you a lot, man. How to deal with your fellow man and not look at his color, but look at what he can do for the overall good of what you're trying to accomplish. So sports to me in general is just an incredible deal when you talk about football specifically, because of the closeness of guys. I just believe it's an amazing sport.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's FCS Kickoff, presented by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Mike McCarthy is the producer behind the boards as we bring you our 2018 Big South Conference season preview. Let's get this preview kicked off by taking a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Big South season by going into our 4-minute offense. Now, the Big South welcomes in 3 new teams, one fully this year and the other 2 in 2019. The Campbell Camels are the ones that are full members this year, eligible for the conference title and auto bid to the FCS playoffs. They come in from the non-scholarship Pioneer League and did a really good job in preparing for the move by redshirting an entire signing class last year. North Alabama decided it was time to make the move up to Division I after years of being a Division II power. The Lions are one of the better college football programs in the country, and by joining the Big South, it now expands the conference's footprint deeper into the South and in one of the more fertile football grounds in the country. And finally, the Hampton Pirates leave the MEAC in a bizarre way to join the Big South. Hampton spoke about wanting to expand their brand beyond certain limitations and thought that the Big South provided that opportunity. Now, the Pirates can now find themselves competing for a playoff berth as opposed to a bowl bid. Hampton's brand is strong, and just like the other 2 programs, should strengthen the Big South as a whole. Now, strengthening the Big South goes hand in hand with topic number 2. This conference sent 2 teams to the FCS playoffs last year in the Monmouth Hawks and Kennesaw State Owls. Now, the Hawks were one of the more well-balanced teams in the subdivision, while the Owls had one of the more impressive seasons in quite some time, considering how new of a program that they are. Now, you have to think that the perennially solid Charleston Southern Buccaneers will get back on the winning track, and when you look at the teams that are coming into the conference, this may be the start of something big with the amount of talent that's now in the 8-team league. The Presbyterian Blue Hose are in a bit of a transition period. They're leaving the Big South and moving to the Pioneer by 2021. That transition to non-scholarship football has led to a lot of turnover with guys leaving en masse. Now, the one thing that's good about what they're doing is that it allows for them to save the program. Plus, it gives the players a renewed focus on the task at hand, which is to win games. Now, the Blue Hose were already a tough out for opponents each week, and head coach Tommy Spangler can both coach and recruit his tail off. So, if any program is up for the challenge, it's a team coming from Clinton, South Carolina. Gardner-Webb is coming off of a 1-10 season last year, and that seems unheard of considering how they've competed over the last 5 years. Heck, over their history, they've played pretty close to 500 balls, so last year's record was definitely an anomaly for head coach Carroll McRae, who's entering his 6th season. The one thing you saw last year from the Bulldogs was fight and a no-quit attitude, and the hope is that last year's experience can turn into a positive one for the 2018 season. Now let's take a look at some of the Big South's best as we unveil our preseason all-conference team, starting with the offensive side of the ball. And you talk about a quartet of talented wideouts on this list with Reggie White Jr. of Monmouth, Justin Sumter of Kennesaw State, Aaron Blockman of Campbell, and Deshaun Davis of Presbyterian. The offensive line is pretty stout as well, with 2 newbies in North Alabama's Cole Harton and Hampton's Malik Mackey making the list. The offense is led by quarterback Chandler Burks of Kennesaw State. He was masterful last season in the option attack of the Owls as he led the team in rushing with over 1,100 yards and 18 touchdowns, while also throwing for over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions. The 5'10", 187-pound senior signal caller led the Owls to a 12-2 record last year and is looking to build on that this season. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball, you see that this list is well represented by both Kennesaw State and Charleston Southern. Linebacker Bryson Armstrong of Kennesaw State won the Jerry Rice Award last year, which is given to the top freshman in the FCS. And Josh Ramser of Gardner Webb is one of the more disruptive interior defensive linemen in the subdivision. And speaking of disruptive, defensive end Emmanuel Olenga of Campbell was just that last season. The 6'4", 260-pound edge rusher finished last year with 74 tackles, 15 TFLs, and 8.5 sacks. The redshirt junior out of Charlotte, North Carolina, has a chance to garner some All-American honors this season, as well as put himself in position to take home the Buck Buchanan Award as well. Rounding out the preseason all-conference team with the special teams unit, and 2 Charleston Southern Bucks make the list in punter Kyle Rayard and return specialist Taz Lindsay. Kicker Justin Thompson of Kennesaw State finished last year connecting on 17 of 21 of his field goal attempts and a perfect 52 of 52 on his extra points. Expectations are high this year in Kennesaw, Georgia, as the Owls are looking to make an even deeper run in the FCS playoffs, and there's no reason not to believe that they can. There's continuity on both sides of the ball. Many feel as though that counting on creating turnovers is fool's gold, but at some point you have to give a team credit for being able to be in position to force them. That's not luck, that's skill, and it's also preparation. Offensively, you know, with the senior quarterback like Chandler Burks leading an option attack will give you a chance to win each and every Saturday. The question then becomes, how will they respond now to being the hunted and not the hunter? The Monmouth Hawks should be just as strong of a team as they were last season. The youth that they played at key positions last year at quarterback and running back will be seasoned vets now, and they still boast one of the better defenses in the conference. The secondary lost some key pieces, and they have to replace one of the best centers in the FCS. But where head coach Kevin Callahan has thrived is in his recruiting and developing of his players. The Hawks play a well-balanced brand of football that many teams have trouble matching up against each week, and we'll learn a lot about this team in the first month of the season as they have some tough matchups against Eastern Michigan, Hampton, Lafayette, Princeton, and also Wagner. The Campbell Camels are coming off of a 6-5 season and now moving to the Big South, but they also have the benefit of having a quarterback with experience, as Daniel Smith was a freshman last year, winning the Pioneer League Freshman of the Year award as well, and a strong defense that is solid at all 3 levels. And where you want to see growth from this team is in the passing game. Can they become more consistent there to complement what Smith brings to the table on the ground? And I think a lot of teams will actually be surprised at how talented and good the Camels are along both sides of the line of scrimmage, which yields itself to them being able to be in the mix right away in the Big South. The Charleston Southern Bucks enter year 2 under head coach Mark Tucker, and just like the Camels, the Bucks defense should be one of the better ones in the conference, especially within the front 7. The growth on offense is where you expect to see significant strides this year. The seeds for success are still in place here for Charleston Southern, as they can and will be able to run the football. The growth expected will be in their ability to close out games. Last year they lost at Elon and against Monmouth, both one-possession games. Defense and special teams will keep them in it, and now it's time for the offense to push forward and win them. The North Alabama Lions will make their FCS debut this season and are hitting the ground running with their scheduling, as they have both Southern Utah and North Dakota State on the schedule within the first month of the season. Now, this gives them a chance to gauge where they are as a program currently and where they want to be. What gives them hope for the season is that there are still some Division II opponents on the slate, which can help build confidence. They can get a taste of Big South play on September 29th as they travel to Campbell. Now, the Lions have to be able to run the football better this year, which would totally help them be much better on third downs and also inside the red zone. The Hampton Pirates have a unique schedule this year, as they have to scramble to piece one together. They play teams from 5 different subdivisions, and I think their season really boils down to a 4-week stretch in the month of September, as they play Monmouth, Tennessee State, Northern Iowa, and Charleston Southern. If they have any hopes of earning an at-large playoff bid, they have to run the tables in that 4-week stretch, in addition to obviously winning the rest of their games, which is very doable. It's doable because the Pirates will be able to run the football with Shai McKenzie behind a stellar offensive line while still having one of the better defenses in the FCS. In fact, their defense gave Monmouth fits last season as that game pushed into overtime. The biggest reason for optimism for the Gardner-Webb running Bulldogs is in the fact that they can be great up front on both sides of the ball. They return all 5 starting offensive linemen led by Will Milliken and a defensive line that's anchored by one of the best in Josh Ramsier. The cause for concern will be the youth taking over at the skill positions, especially at quarterback. How quickly can they grow could determine how good this team can be for 2018. One thing's for sure, despite that youth, the Bulldogs will field a much better product this upcoming season. Head coach Tommy Spangler definitely has his work cut out for him this season, as Presbyterian will be playing a good amount of young players. Now, the good news is that, like I mentioned earlier in the video, Spangler can definitely coach and will have his guys ready to play. Also, pride tends to kick in with football players as the natural competitiveness will also begin to take over, and we'll see how much of that can carry a team to victory each and every week. Now, the Blue Hose will have to be excellent on special teams and just good on either side of the ball to grab some wins on Saturdays. So that's a wrap from Football Game Plan's FCS Kickoff. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the FCS Opening Drive podcast on iTunes and also on SoundCloud, where Dave Hashagen and myself dive deeper into the world of the FCS. And don't forget to subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network on YouTube, where you can find all of our FCS video content at youtube.com/footballgameplan.